What's going on? So I want to share this video. Left the housing forecast today. It was phenomenal. A lot of great data, a lot of great information, and I want to share some of the info that I received with you. And let me start by saying that San Antonio is doing amazing. Texas is doing amazing. Our economy is strong. Our housing market is strong on both sides. And I took a bunch of notes, got some data. Let me share some statistics with you. Most of this is going to be focused on Bexar County and San Antonio. Again, this event was a housing forecast for 2020. A lot of the data that they measure is for like the past 3 to 5 years typically. So things are just on the rise. Let me say that. Okay, so I'm going to start off with some Bexar County stats. Bexar County, we had a total of 24,936 home sales. That's a 6% increase from 2018. The average sales price in Bexar County is $255,866. In addition to that, let me get some San Antonio stats. So we have 59 days on market, which is fantastic. So what that means is when a seller hits their house, the average days on market that it sits before it sells is 59 days. That's really good, by the way. So just under 2 months. The amount of inventory that we have available on average in San Antonio is 3.3 months of inventory. Let me sum this up for you. What that means, technically anything less than 6 months of inventory is a seller's market. So San Antonio as a whole has 3.3 months of inventory, which is fantastic. So we would really be in a seller's market. However, there is some neighborhoods that are technically buyer's markets, and the way that's measured is if buyer's market is if the neighborhood has over 6 months of inventory. So Dominion's a perfect example. I don't know what the stats are for 2019, but typically it averages about 11 to 12 months of inventory. So that would technically be a buyer's market if you're buying in that neighborhood. But the good thing is San Antonio as a whole, factoring that neighborhood and others, we have 3.3 months of inventory. So that is awesome. Also, I'll get you some stats on homes on price points. So the $200,000 and less home values are continuing to drop in sales. And you want to know why? Because there's not enough inventory. In addition to that, because prices keep going up, which is not necessarily a good thing. Also, 200 to 500,000 has continued to drop in sales. And here's another reason, there's not enough of that, and there's a lot of demand for that price point. And with prices continuing to go up, it puts us into the next category, which would be 500,000 and plus. That number has continued to rise drastically because there is more opportunity there. There are more homes available, but that number 500,000 plus in home sales is rising. So remember, 200,000 less is continuing to drop because there's not enough inventory of that. And then 200 to 500 on sales, home sales is also continuing to drop. The big takeaway for me for all of this is there's not a lot of affordable housing. Home values are continuing to rise. What we need is job wages also to continue to increase because we're going to have to sustain this and support it. We don't want to be like some of these other cities where they're pushing everybody out. And that brings up my next point. California is a perfect example. So California had 1,800 companies last year that left their state to take their business to another location. Texas was the #1 state that Californians flocked to, and San Antonio leaded that out of all the cities within Texas. Also want to speak to San Antonio, how we're doing in general in comparison to other big cities in Texas, Houston, Austin, Dallas. Yeah, those are really the big ones. But anyway, San Antonio is doing fantastic. All of us are doing great in Texas, but San Antonio is like slow and steady, increasing very well. Yes, we are seeing some pretty drastic increases, but the upside is technically, from what I understand, is that we are still an affordable city, which is fantastic. There's not a lot of big cities that are still affordable. Our neighboring city which is Austin, hasn't been affordable for many years. So that's a good thing. And especially when companies are looking at relocating their employees, they're looking at two things. They're looking at housing. Housing is still good overall in San Antonio in comparison to what you can get elsewhere. And also schools is the other. And what we are doing as a city as a whole, which was part of the SA 2020 initiative with education, is awesome. We are investing a lot into our schools, a lot into the next generation, the future. So I think San Antonio, we're doing fantastic with that. Let's continue to support that on the school system for youth. There's also they got a bunch of notes too, but some of the other things that I thought were pretty interesting is that Texas ranks on the oil side, the number 6 largest producer in the world. And it's my understanding, and it's either number 1 or 2, that the U.S. is the number 1 oil producer. And again, we generate so much here in Texas, which is also helping our economy, helping us as a whole. So there's so many fantastic stats. Just in summary, let me just say that San Antonio is doing great. Texas is doing great. We're going to continue to do great. Per these chief economists that just try to predict things, they don't see any slowdown. We don't see a recession in 2020. There's some predictions of maybe in 2021, which that might possibly come. They don't think San Antonio will get hit as hard. If it does come, Texas won't get hit as hard. But let's continue to do great. San Antonio's doing great. And if you have absolutely any questions about San Antonio, our housing market, we would love to help you, just be a resource, happy to answer any questions and give some value. Thank you.